attack? Me.
Managers on a Major League Baseball team don't make decisions.
Could have done without that.
Credibility in this situation is worse than losing your job.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
The castration of the Major League Baseball managers, we know it.
Ask me about my winner.
It's announced today that New York Mets relief pitcher Edwin Diaz will not pitch this season. Now, it sounds like it makes a ton of sense. Obviously, you don't want a pitcher that is coming back from an injury to pitch in games that don't mean anything. But I'm going to tell you why it would have benefited both the New York Mets and Edwin Diaz for him to pitch in a game or two by the end of the season. Number one, it gives him the feeling that he's back. You know, he could have a regular off season like he did the off season before, just preparing to go into spring training, and there's no thoughts of whether he's going to be able to handle, I don't know, the strength of pushing off on his leg to pitch a game or two. Like I said, from most people's perspective, seems like it's meaningless. I think there was meaning to it. And I also believe that the New York Mets were toggling with this idea. And another thing, too, if you had Edwin Diaz proven that he's back, he's recovered from his terrifying knee injury, which he suffered at the end of the World Baseball Classic in March, there's at least that possibility that you're going to have teams inquire for his services. Now, as a Mets fan, am I going out of my way to want to trade Edwin Diaz? No, but David Stern's taken over as the new president of baseball operations, along with Billy Epler and the owner there, Steve Cohen. In order to get this team, which is, it's going to be a losing season, it's going to be a season where the Mets are not going to make the playoffs. They're probably not going to come close to finishing at 500. Part of it is the decision they made at the trading deadline to move on from top of the rotation pitchers like Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander to get younger. They sacrificed the end of the season. I get that. But the goal with having Steve Cohen as the owner, the richest owner in sports history, is going to be the expectation that the Mets are going to be ready to win in 2024. Whether the thought is, oh, maybe it'll be better in 2025 and 2026, there's no stepping back. They're not going to take a step back and get worse. So they're going to have to change some things up. Their offense has not come through the way that it's been expected. There hasn't been much changes. It's not like they traded away top offensive players at the trading deadline. They haven't hit this year. Their starting rotation, you would expect to digress without the likes of Scherzer and Verlander in there, missing Jose Quintana for the first half of the season. I understand their pitching's not good. Their pitching's going to have to get better. They're probably going to hit, through free agency to try to get better there. But when it comes to players being off limits in regards to the Mets not trading them, there's going to be Francisco Lindor, who has 8 years left on his contract, and Brandon Nimmo, who's got 7 years left on his contract. Even if the Mets would want to trade him, it would be bad optics to include money for players that are going to play 8 and 7 respective years respectively on their contracts. But everybody else on the roster has to be available for a price. Pete Alonso's got to be available for the right price with the right team. If you could get, elite prospects that are going to impact your major league team right away, top 100 major league prospects, players that experts expect to be legitimate major leaguers, then you have to consider it. And I think you also have to consider it when it comes to Edwin Diaz. And I think Edwin Diaz pitching a game or two at least puts into mind that he could be had if the price was right. And this is what the Mets have to do. If they want to get better for 2024, the expectations is they're going to be a playoff team. There's 6 teams in the National League. They're making the playoffs. There's no reason that the Mets can't expect themselves to be one of the 6, even if it's not a World Series championship contender. Let's say the Braves or the Dodgers of the National League, on that level. Edwin Diaz pitching a game or two for the Mets at the end of this season had some value, and I believe the Mets are making a mistake. You have a sad and disturbing story coming out of Michigan State where once renowned head football coach Mel Tucker, and it's not that long ago, 2021, that Michigan State team was dominant, had a handful of players that made it to the NFL. They won a bowl game. they gave Mel Tucker a 10-year contract extension, and now he's about to lose his job over sexual harassment. A woman claims that, he masturbated in front of her. He's saying it's consensual. Whatever it is, it's against the code of conduct for Michigan State, and they've moved into the process of trying to terminate his contract. My question when it comes to that, and you may not like this if you're watching this show, you might not like the angle that I'm taking with this, is Michigan State just trying to not pay Mel Tucker as opposed to doing the right thing when it comes to addressing the sexual harassment allegations. Now, the court of public opinion is going to be on the side of the woman, which I have every right to do that too. The issue I have is the school, and part of it has to do with the complaint, I think would rather save the money than do what's right for the woman. And if Mel Tucker committed some sort of misconduct, which was a violation of his contract, the guy signs a 10-year contract, there has to be some sort of stipulation for stuff like this. It's just standard. Standard, contract procedure. That he violated his contract, probably will lose his job. The only caveat I want to throw in there is I think Michigan State cares more about not paying Mel Tucker than they do wanting to do right when it comes to this woman. And I'm going to stand by that. I was thinking about this the other day, and I know it's always challenging if you ever bring a take that's not 100% online with the, hey, we support the woman, we support her allegations, we stand by her rights to file the complaint if she feels like she was wronged and she's the victim. I'm all on board with that. The only way I go is Michigan State doesn't care that much about it. They have a coach that's embattled. They want to make sure that they save themselves the $70 million that they agreed to when they signed Mel Tucker to this long contract extension. And if you think that Mel Tucker's never going to get another job in college football, you need to watch out. Because I bet you he's coaching for somebody next year. Might not be a big school like Michigan State. It may be a smaller school, couple of years. You know what? If he's recruiting well, if he's one of the big names on the board, Mel Tucker is going to be back coaching college football within a relative future. And when that happens, you say, John Pielli might have been a little bit right when he said it was more about Michigan State saving money than protecting the rights of this woman. Because there's going to be more allegations, and you see coaches in sports, once they get another job, a player that's accused of sexual harassment, once Trevor Bauer starts playing in Major League Baseball again, yeah, there'll be a little bit of backlash here and there, but he'll still have the right to work. And you know what? Whatever happened in that situation with him is not going to be a big deal anymore. And you have to just identify that that's what's happening in society. It's a lot of bullshit. It's a lot of affront of wanting to make like people care about things that they don't really care about. And just call it for what it is. It's a bad look. That's why Mel Tucker's losing his job. It's a bad look. That's why, the Dodgers released Trevor Bauer and 29 other teams didn't sign him right now. But when he hits free agency, if he's dominating for the Yokohama Bay Stars in Nippon baseball, and a team wants to get better and they sign him, there'll be a limited backlash. But at the same time, he'll be a pitcher. He's going to be a major league pitcher. And I promise you, as much as I promise that Mel Tucker will be coaching college football again in Division 1A, Trevor Bauer is going to be playing Major League Baseball again, regardless of how much you feel like sports care about the victims in these cases. So on today's Saving Sports History, today being the 19th day of September 2023, I don't have a lot going on, but I do want to bring up 1931 when Lefty Grove, legendary pitcher for the Philadelphia Athletics, won his 30th game, Hall of Fame pitcher. And, we'll touch on that within the next couple minutes. 1947, Jackie Robinson won the Jackie Robinson Award. How about that? Just like Lou Gehrig dying of Lou Gehrig's disease, Jackie Robinson won the Jackie Robinson Award for the Rookie of the Year in Major League Baseball, the inaugural one in 1947. Denny McLain, speaking of 30-game winners, won his 31st game on this day in 1968, the same day that Mickey Mantle hit his 535th career home run, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's the last one he ever hit. 2004, legendary NFL wide receiver Jerry Rice had a 274-game catch streak ended while playing for the Oakland Raiders. This is Jerry Rice just not being able to be Jerry Rice anymore. He wasn't the number one receiving option at that point, and it was bound to happen. It was bound to be a game where he was going to be on the field and not catch a pass, and that ended that tremendous streak that he had. Born on this day, Roger Angell, one of the best and most, I think, influential writers of the 20th century. And obviously he lived up until last year. He was born on this day in 1920. Duke Snider was born on this day in 1926, Baseball Hall of Famer, legendary Dodgers center fielder. In 1943, Joe Morgan, one of the greatest second basemen in the history of Major League Baseball. I have him ranked number 3 when it comes to all time. Rogers Hornsby number 1, Charlie Gehringer number 2, Joe Morgan number 3. Still nothing to be ashamed of. One of the greatest to ever play at a position. Obviously, Big Red Machine, 2-time National League MVP Joe Morgan, born on this day in 1943. 1952, we lost Hugo Bedzek. And if you don't know who he is, he was a legendary college football coach, Hall of Famer, was coach for Oregon, Arkansas, Penn State, the NFL with the Cleveland Browns, also played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And then just a year ago, we lost the person that I had the opportunity to meet, and really one of the more unsung players of the 1960s, and that's Maury Wills. Maury Wills was a very good shortstop, almost re-revolutionized the stolen base when it came to Major League Baseball, was an influence on Lou Brock, who became an influence on Rickey Henderson. So you have the stolen base, which had just about died, to the point of Maury Wills coming up and making his Major League debut in his late 20s. Revolutionized the sport, won the MVP in 1962. And in a day and age that we live in right now, we look at OPS, we look at slugging, on base, the most important things to defining an offensive position player in Major League Baseball. You can make a very good case that Maury Wills, in spite of not having a high on-base percentage, in spite of not having a high slugging percentage, was one of the more dominant players in the National League for the decade of the 1960s. And I think because of that, there should be some more consideration when it comes to this man getting into baseball's Hall of Fame. This is the Pass Ball Show, brought to you by JohnPLA.com, by St. Aloysius Church in Jackson, New Jersey, by 2 Ways, One Passion Food Truck located in Scranton, Pennsylvania. We'll be back with you pretty soon. If you're interested in hearing me flap my yap mouth a little bit more, you can check me out on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, videos on YouTube, of course. God bless you, and as always, I'll see you on the other side.
Bryant was on the Chicago Cubs roster opening day.
I have many leather-bound books. My apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Why don't you give it all, or a majority of it, to the team that wins the friggin' World Series?
I was going to listen to that, but then I just carried on living my life.
Now they've come out as the biggest Major League Baseball manager apologist,
That'll only make someone work just hard enough not to get fired.
because hitters are going out there saying, I'm either going to hit a home run or I'm going to strike out. And if I don't get a pitch that I feel like I could drive out of the park,
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
especially prospect whores and hoarders, are going to be a little pissed off at me when I say this.
I'm just playing a dude disguised as another dude.
There are only 2 managers in baseball's Hall of Fame who have losing records. One of them is the iconic Connie Mack, who you could say, in spite of winning 5 World Series championships as a manager, could be in as much as a pioneer. And what side of the spectrum they're on. Were they pitching? Were they batting? If your favorite team was pitching and a ball got inside to hit a batter, there's no way that could have been on purpose. But if you were a fan of the team that was batting and a ball got inside and hit somebody or went behind somebody's head, absolutely 100%, unequivocally, that pitcher was throwing out. They put their tail between their legs, decided they're going to do exactly what they're told. You damn well right better give him a contract extension. You damn well right better make him the manager over the next series of years.
35 years ago, I could have loaned your parents the money for an abortion.